Welcome everyone to the weekly update of Clarity Edge. My name is Jonatan Randin and I'm a professional trader and market analyst with nearly 10 years in the market. Each week I will share my outlook on the Forex market while also covering crypto, commodities and the major indices. And in this update today, I will walk you through the trades I'm in, the setups I'm planning and the key insights from my weekend analysis so you can start the week with clarity and confidence. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and let's dive into the analysis. The first chart we're going to look at is the GBP AUD. I want to begin with, this is actually a trade that I'm in currently, but I want to talk about how potentially enter this. If you're not in this already, remember though, this is not financial advice. You always have to do your own research and this is educational purposes only. You shouldn't really look at this as trades you should be following. You should look at these ideas as examples of possible trades and then try to perhaps replicate it in your own trading. I'm going to break down this idea starting with the daily here. Zooming out on the daily for GBP AUD, we can see that we have broken above a very major resistance area in March this year, beginning of March this year, and we can now see that we're holding this level as support. So that's what I'm seeing here is kind of like a change in the overall cycle dynamics for GBP AUD. I mean, GBP AUD has not been trading at above this level or created significant structure above this level since January in 2016. And right now we are seeing a huge move to the upside and an actual range forming on top of this daily structure. There is the possibility of GBP AUD now entering a new type of cycle that we have not seen in a very long time. Now, with that in mind, we also have to understand that it's not normal for this pair to trade above this level. So we do have that going against the idea. If you were some type of mean reversion trader, you would be looking at this and thinking, well, that's a short. But let me tell you a little bit about this long setup that I'm looking at. Now, this is the overall structure that we're looking at on the daily. I just want to mention as well that if this long setup fails to confirm or just if we get stopped out on this one, there is a very good level below at around the 2 area. So that's definitely something to be watching out for. That's the other long idea if this one gets invalidated. Now, going into the 4 hour, I have marked out a range right here, and I'm looking at this as price going below the range low, and then this I'm looking at as sort of a deviation below the range low, and then we saw a reclaim of this range low area. Now, what I'm thinking here is that GBP JPY is trading within this range, right, like this. And if it's going to continue to trade within this range, chances are that it's going to go back up against the or towards the range EQ. Now, range EQ, that's just short for equilibrium. Range equilibrium is a nice word for saying middle of the range, basically. So I'm thinking a deviation of the range low. Some people would call this manipulation, don't know why, but whatever. Could have a deviation below the range low, then reclaim that range low again for a possible move up higher towards that range EQ area. What I did was I actually entered this trade last week. We had, let me show you exactly what this looked like, right? So my idea for entering this trade was the fact that we reclaimed the range EQ, we formed sort of a local bullish structure with the higher highs and higher lows right here, and then we broke above that trend line. You can see that this trend line has been well respected within this downtrend. We broke above that trend line right here, and this was the same day as FOMC. So I decided to put in a long order right here to potentially get filled based on the FOMC volatility, and that's exactly what happened on the next candle. We had that FOMC volatility coming in, and we got filled. Perfect entry, and a beautiful trend was then forming right here. But I did see that over the course of the next day, I believe that was Friday, maybe, I don't know, can't remember exactly when FOMC was, but I think it was on Wednesday, Thursday. Anyway, at the end of the week, we had the move down right here. But what we see right now on Monday was this move that we had to the downside came down and perfectly retested that trend line right here. And if you use the fib tool, right, and you activate the reload zone, which is basically the area between the 0.618 and the 0.786, extend that to the right, you will see that this retest that we had here on Friday and then bounced on Monday morning. It was a perfect retest of that reload zone. And you also now see a bullish engulfing candle on the 4-hour closing about 4 minutes ago. And we are now currently back at the entry zone. If price breaks this trend line right here and moves like this, I will be moving my stops above this low. If you're watching this right now and prices are looking similar, I do have a level here marked out as a possible entry zone. I do think that a break above this trend line is great confirmation of this setup actually potentially working out. So this is something that this is a trade that I'm in, and this is how I will manage this trade. If you're not in this trade, you could definitely be watching a possible break above that descending trend line that you got right here. If you want a number, let's say a break above the area around 2.05. The next idea I wanted to share with you is GBP JPY, and before I move on here, it's very important to note that the pairs that I'm going to be watching here today has some of them are positively correlated, some of them are negatively correlated, so you have to do your own analysis and understand the idea of correlation within the Forex market. So for example, let's say you enter a long on Euro USD and a long on or a short on Euro NCD. Now those are most likely, if Euro USD is going to move higher, most likely Euro NCD will do the same thing. And if you're long one and short the other, you're basically kind of hedge, and you're going to get stopped out on one and potentially hit profit on the other, or you get stopped out on one, the other one was higher, and then stopped out on that one, so your losses will be doubled. Now imagine if you're taking a long on Euro USD and long on Euro NCD, so both are longs, and you enter with 1% risk on both. Well, then your risk is actually 2% because they are positively correlated. So make sure you understand this and apply proper risk management when taking trades that are correlated. Right, so GBP JPY, we're going to begin here with the daily. Now, first of all, I just have to note that a lot of fundamental analysts are quite bullish on or bearish on JPY, I believe. So if you're asking the fundamental analysts, a lot of them would probably say do not short GBP JPY. So keep that in mind. And also the local trend is actually quite bullish here. So you should not view this as a trend following idea. You should watch it and look at this as a mean reversion type of trade. So if you have a trend following system with a specific risk, then maybe if you're going to be trading in mean reversion system, you might have a other risk profile on that one. So make sure that you do, of course, do your own research and apply your own personal risk management to these ideas. Looking at the daily right here, we can clearly see that, let me just clean up the chart a little bit. Looking at the daily right here, we do see a clean rejection at this resistance right here. The Friday candle closed as a very obvious bearish engulfing candle right here, right around the 200 level. This looks like a very clear fake out to me. With that in mind, we're going to go into the 4-hour, and what I'm seeing right here on the 4-hour is a possible range right here. And I can also see that we have a potential break of structure right here if we mark out these two trend lines, like something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you can kind of see how the trend has shifted. The overall idea of this trend has potentially shifted, and I would not be looking at something like this. If you view this as a range, you could be watching this as a deviation above range high, a potential move down, bounce on range EQ, rejection here, and then potentially move back down to the range low. Now, if you're just watching this as a break of structure, is this break of structure right here could still mean that this is the trend that has broken, and we're now going back down to the next major support below, which is this area right here, right above 198. So let's take a closer look at this setup. Let's remove some drawing tools here, and we're going to zoom in a little bit right here. Now, if you're watching this and price is trading at where it is currently, and you're an intraday trader, you might want to look at something like this, right? Where you're potentially entering right here. Stops are stops and profit targets are rather, you know, aggressive, maybe stops up here, and you maybe just looking for a small move down to the local lows or the range EQ as an intraday trader, or maybe even a scalper. But as a swing trader, I'm looking at potentially seeing price come back up to test this level right here, and then I would have my stop loss up here. Of course, I don't know if that's going to happen. We can go down to the 1 hour. The rejection looks quite solid right here, but if I'm able to see price maybe, you know, move something like this, I might get an entry on that one right here and write it down to the range low. I'm not in this one right now, and I will monitor price action to make sure that I do see the type of price action that I want to see for this to play out. But the overall direction as a mean reversing type of play looks like a potential move to the downside. But I gotta be honest with you, this is not the highest conviction trade right here for me. I do like the GBP AUD trade more than this one. Next up is AUD JPY. So right here you can see a very nice break and retest with a rounded retest of a significant resistance area, now turns support for AUD JPY. I like this on the daily by marking out the fibs, and here I have used this low and that high as the fib anchor points. You can see the price is hitting the 50% fib right here, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing right here. Going down to the 4 hour, we do see that what we're currently seeing right now is, of course, we got these lower lows right here and then a higher low right here, potentially showing us a potential shift in momentum right here. I've also added a descending trend line here, and then when adding that descending trend line, I saw that, well, if we have a support level here at the bottom, we're basically seeing a descending triangle type of pattern right here. And then if we're using the measured move of basically, when I say measured move, what you do when you mark out a triangle like this, to find the measured move, which is basically the breakout target, you go from the height of the pattern down to the base, and then you just extend that one wherever you're going to have the breakout target. But considering the fact that this is such an obvious local high right here, I would view that local high as the potential profit target. So if you have a breakout right here, this would be the setup. I would put the stop loss below that wick right there, and then TP would be at the local highs right there. So this is another setup that I'm monitoring. I got my alerts set for the break of this trend line right here, and a nice way to do this, if you want to set alerts on trend lines, you can just right click that one and then press on trading view, add alert on trend line, and then you could just say crossing this trend line and then create. So now whenever price crosses that trend line, you'll get an alert. And that's it for this week's update. Let me know in the comments if you want me to cover any specific charts for next week, or if you have any questions on today's analysis. I would gladly help you out by perhaps recording a short video explaining the concepts. Now, this is also posted every week as a weekly newsletter, so make sure that you do sign up to not only this channel but also the Clarity Edge newsletter. You can find a link in the description of this video. All right, guys, thanks for watching and have a great trading week ahead.